So let me start with, you're pretty much the first people I ever filmed for the pushback. We just started filming on the street. It was in the middle of the Kavanaugh hearings. We were in the midterm elections and a friend said, you should meet. And I just started following you and the rest is history. But what were you doing then and how has that led to now?
I guess back then, I think we had just started Rouser.
Or we were about to.
I don't think we'd officially started yet. I think we were still in the phase where Becky and I just kept showing up to stuff, not really knowing what we were doing and just trying to figure out the lay of the land.
When we first met, you were doing work to register voters. I remember that in 2018. You were working with candidates. We checked back in with you later and you had formed the podcast. Can you talk to me a little bit just about the Rabble and what motivated that and how's that been going?
Even what we do at the Rabble has changed so much since we started it. But, it wasn't in the heat of election season when we started it, but it was a legislative session in Texas. And we only have those every other year. And I think we were trying to figure out, like, how does the Texas legislature work? Like, how can we be involved in advocating for issues that we care about there? And as we were learning those things, we wanted to share with more people so that more people could figure out how to get involved, specifically at the state level in Texas. And so we had a lot of fun doing that. And then now we've changed, I feel like with the pandemic, everyone has had to kind of reconfigure the way that they operate. And I have 2 small children, and so I'm with them all the time now and I have much less time to do activism.
You're just hiding behind the shimmering purple curtain right now.
So we had to really focus on, okay, how can we have the biggest impact for the 2020 election? And we decided it was to lift up women, especially who are running for the Texas House, because we're only 9 seats away from flipping it to Democratic control, which hasn't happened in a long time. And so that's where we focused. And also now we're doing a daily democracy challenge because people kept coming to us and asking, like, how can I get involved and have an impact on this election? And so we wanted to make it really easy for people to have one place to go every day. The Rabble podcast is in any podcast store. So all of our episodes are there. It's also on our website. And if you just want the Daily Democracy Challenge episodes, it's rousertx.com/daily. And then also we post all of it on our social media channels. So at the Rabble TX on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
What we were trying to show was how different people, not just politicians, but different people in the state of Texas were pushing back, but who were finding ways to stand up against some of the policies of discrimination and different things that have been happening. So from your perspective, I would be curious for both of you, just how does this work feel to you? Did it start off as intimidating? Now do you feel like you're kind of in a groove? You're balancing it with your personal lives? Maybe just for those who are kind of on the sidelines, your examples of people who are engaged in the democracy and have made it in your own way.
I feel like that was one of the things that was really amazing to me about the film too, because you have these, in my mind, these giants in Veronica Escobar and, as a congresswoman, and you have Natasha Harper Madison, who's now a city councilwoman. So, you follow their journeys and how they got to be there. But in my mind, I'm still wow, these women were running for office. They are these giants in my mind and amazing. And I so appreciated that you just had these 2 girls and us running around, just trying to figure shit out, really. And so that, I love that you kept stories like that in, because I think our whole mission is to make politics feel less intimidating to people, because that was my biggest barrier for, getting more involved beyond just voting for big elections every year. It was just feeling I didn't know enough, or showing up to these spaces of, power where I just didn't feel like I belonged, where I never saw anyone else who looked like me. So I assumed well, that's just not for me. And so the whole mission behind the Rabble is just bringing people with us as we try to figure out, we try to be as transparent as we can, showing that we don't really know what we're doing, but, and Becky's a precinct chair and was a delegate at the DNC. I am a member of the DNC now. So it's a funny thing where we're becoming a part of the establishment a little bit more, the more we learn, but we do our best to show people what that looks like, and that, you know, there's definitely barriers that are intentionally built in for people like us, but, you know, we can show up to the table still and hopefully have some fun while we're doing it.
I continue to be inspired by like our listeners. I came across a woman yesterday on Twitter who people are just finding ways to use their own talents for democracy, and like people are finding ways to be involved that aren't like a clear-cut path. So like this woman had shared on Twitter all of these really cute like Twitter header backgrounds for different Texas candidates that she had made, and made those available for people to use to be like, I'm voting for Wendy Davis, or whatever candidate it is. And I'm like, that's so cool that people, you know, are just finding ways to be involved that are like outside of, you know, these clear-cut paths that we think that we have to do.
In my case, it was making a film. That was what I felt like I could do, besides donating or you know, doing back when we could still do door knocking. Actually, I wanted to tell you too why I have you here. Both of you inspired me later, after we had filmed and met, to become one of the canvassers. But it was by seeing you do it and realizing this could be fun. You can be out with your friend. Of course, pre-pandemic, that was something that we could do easily. In the future, I hope we can get back to that. But I learned that from filming you, and then it changed my life. So anyway.
Aww.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is really.
The first time I phone banked, I think I probably signed up and didn't show up a few times before I finally did it, because I didn't understand what I was signing up for. Like, I'm such a visual and literal person in a lot of ways. Like, I had to see someone do it. So I think you capture that well in the film of like, you're just literally walking around talking to your neighbors. It's actually pretty fun.
What's your feeling right now about the election, Texas, and the challenges that you're facing in this election, and your hopes for it as well?
It's absurd in Texas. And it's interesting to me when I talk to friends outside of the state who are like, don't even realize that, you know, we don't have automatic voter registration. We don't even have online voter registration. And it's, when you grow up here and you live here, you just assume this is what democracy looks like, I think. And I think people get apathetic about voting because they just assume like, well, that's so antiquated. But it's like intentionally, you know, done that way.
It actually is, in a weird way, kind of encouraging to me, because it's showing me that they're afraid. They're afraid of all the people who are clearly very energized and want to vote. And so they're trying to find ways to make it harder for us, because they can see their power slipping away. So because I'm an eternal optimist, I'm like finding reasons to be happy about voter suppression. I don't know.
Yeah, Becky is much more of an optimist than I am. I laugh because one of the last events we did together was with one of my idols, Hassan Minhaj, and he talked about being an angry optimist. And to me, I'm like, I am much more tend towards anger, and just like, and Becky is much more of an optimist than I am. So I think together we combined are an angry optimist, and you definitely have a lot of the anger, and I definitely have a lot of the optimism in me too. But yeah, it just makes me more excited to get out and work harder to get the vote out, because we have to.
If people just watch the film and they say, I like these women, I want to know more, maybe they find this conversation and again, point us towards where we can get involved with the daily challenges, everything that you've kind of been talking about.
Follow us on the social. You'll get to see Becky hang out with her daughters. I'm writing postcards with my mom today to Chinese voters. So maybe I'll post that on social too. I need to get better at that. So you can see what we're doing, and that it's it doesn't have to feel so intimidating. Just go to @TheRavelTX on any of the socials. RouserTX.com is our website, and you can find our podcast and sign up for that daily democracy challenge. We'll be doing one simple challenge every day until the election.
I'm offering to be people's personal democracy coach. So if you contact us at the Rebel TX, especially on Instagram, I feel like that's where most people find us. But I'm happy to chat with you on the phone or, you know, via messages, and just like coach you so that you feel like, okay, I can do this.
What is it that is motivating you guys to give your time for this democracy?
I just remember how I felt the day after the 2016 election, when I realized that I had been counting on somebody else somewhere else to create the outcome that I was hoping for, but I actually hadn't done anything to create that outcome. And I felt, yes, I was disappointed in Donald Trump being elected, but more than anything else, I felt upset at myself that I hadn't done anything to keep that from happening. And I just never want to have that feeling again. So this time I'm just like, every day I'm going to do whatever I could possibly can to, no matter what the outcome of this 2020 election is, I want to look back and know that I did everything I possibly could.
I don't know. I don't think that I would be so out loud about, before this, like, I feel like I would maybe volunteer kind of quietly and do things, and like I would vote, and maybe I would do a little bit of volunteering for like big presidential campaigns, but like I wouldn't talk about it. It's so funny to me when I look back at the 2016 election, I remember joining the secret Pantsuit Nation group because I was like a quiet Hillary Clinton supporter. And it was a secret Facebook group at the time. And like, I would never ever, and especially growing up in like Chinese American family, it's like, I've been very deeply ingrained this like model minority myth. Like, you don't want to upset anyone. You don't want to talk about politics or anything that would make anyone feel uncomfortable or lose face in some way. And I think since then, like, just, I feel like after that election, like a lot of us had a turning point of like, this is not okay. This is not normal. The things that this man is saying and doing to people across the country and the world is just, I don't know. I think before, like, I think I would have just taken the anger and just kind of like stuffed it away and set it aside. But I feel like I've been shown how much representation really matters, and that we do need to show up and use our voices. And yeah, we can be angry, and that's okay. You should be. Like, anger is such a useful emotion to me that I never allowed myself to process before. So I think that is what really fuels me. And I think that's a huge driver for me. And just seeing so many APIs step up and as Asian Americans using our voices. And I think that's been really inspiring to me, because I always assumed that I just didn't grow up with a lot of Asians in political office around me. So I just never thought that was something that Asians did, I guess. And so now, like, every chance I get to get my face out there or get another Asian face out there, it means so much, because it's meant a lot to me to see other Asian leaders step up and use their voices when I never thought that it was allowed.
In my opinion, you're doing a great job, both of you. I'm super proud to know you. I'm glad that we met. I'm ecstatic that you're in our film. And if people discover what you're doing, even on our website, we've got links right to your website. It's just kind of the cool ecosystem that we're all a part of here. So I hope that, who knows, there might be more that we can film down the road. And I know that we'll be in touch, but I just want to thank you, even because right now this is crunch time and you guys are doing so much, but just to carve out this little time to give us an update, it's great. It's a great thing. Thank you so much.
Well, congrats. I'm so excited for this film to be out there and for everyone to see it.
It's so exciting.